Human design was like the start of the change of my life there. Like it really picked me up off of that rock bottom floor and showed me my talents, my gifts. I think it gave me permission to be myself. And I feel like that was the key catalyst in what came next for me and rebuilding from that rock bottom.
Welcome to the Favorite Self podcast. I like to think of it not as your future self or your best self, but your favorite self. My favorite self that just makes me feel the truest version of me. What lights your favorite self on fire? I'm Carly Ottaway, founder, author, storyteller, and a woman who learned that building a successful life means nothing if it doesn't feel like yours. This podcast is for women who are building businesses, raising families, leading movements, and asking themselves, is this it, or is there more available to me? This is your invitation to come back to yourself. Let's dig in.
If she can do it, then I can do it too. It is a simple thought, but it has the power to change everything. In this episode, we dive into what happens when one connection shifts your entire trajectory and how that ripple effect can completely rewrite your identity. Today's guest shares her journey from feeling anxious, fearful, and unsure of using her voice to stepping onto stages and leading one of the most impactful events for women in business, speaking in front of hundreds over and over again. This conversation is about rewriting your story in real time. It's about moving through fear, not waiting for it to disappear. And it's about understanding that the discomfort doesn't mean you're out of alignment. It might actually mean you're expanding into exactly who you're meant to be. I'm so excited to introduce you to Maria Tassi. She's the co-founder of High Vibe Women and the Social Snippet, two purpose-driven businesses rooted in community and impact. And after experiencing burnout early in her entrepreneurial journey, Maria became deeply passionate about redefining success through self-care, alignment, and authenticity. Now she helps women build intentional, sustainable businesses, blending soulful strategy with real growth. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Favorite Self podcast. I am so excited to be here today with someone who is my favorite person to send those texts to at all moments when I'm just navigating all of the things. We can nerd out on all the woo stuff and just I feel like so seen and understood. And so I absolutely had to have Maria Tassi on the podcast as one of my very first guests. So thank you so much for being here.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. I was truly honored when you asked me. I'm so excited for you for the launch of this. This is going to be such an incredible podcast that's going to impact so many lives. So I'm truly honored to be a part of it. Thanks for having me.
Well, that starts with you being here and sharing your story. And yeah, like I said, you've just been someone that immediately came to mind for me because you represent so much of what this podcast is about, which I'm still figuring out. But I wanted to start by asking a little bit about just your journey into entrepreneurship, because I know you say that kind of happened by accident for you. And I see it now, seeing what you've manifested and nerding out on our manifestation journey together. You know, how did that come about for you? And reflecting back now, how does it all how do the pieces align?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I feel like everything sort of happened by accident. None of it was planned. None of it was intentional. There were so many moments of oh my God, what is happening? What do I do now? But then looking back at the whole story of how everything happened, it's so clear how divinely orchestrated the whole thing was. Even back to me being 18 and showing up at my first day of university residence and meeting Christina. And every moment that happened from then until now, I'm like, damn, the universe was really at work there.
Yeah.
It's somebody asked me mine and Christina's origin story the other day, and I was like, how much time you got? Because it's a long one. But we met in university. We worked together. She was actually my boss when we were both student leaders. And it's funny because we ran events together in residence for the students. That was what we worked on together, which has come full circle in us running the High Vibe Women events now. And yeah, she was my boss, and then she graduated. I was still in school because she's a couple of years older than me. And that set us up perfectly to become business partners. Just that relationship and how much I grew and learned and how she mentored me and how we were able to have those honest conversations was just the perfect precursor to us being business partners. So I'm forever so grateful for that. Then we became good friends. We went on trips together. And truly how I found myself in entrepreneurship is I used to work in travel. And then when the pandemic happened, I was like, what on earth will I do? Because I had all these career plans and backup plans and, plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and they were all in travel. And so when travel wasn't a thing anymore, I was like, what in the world do I do now? Like I had so many plans and all of them were no longer feasible. And so Christina ended up starting a little side hustle, personal development coaching business, and asked me to be her VA. And at the time, I was like, what is a VA? So I very quickly learned what a VA was. And then very soon after that, I was a full-time VA. I was actually decorating cakes for a little bit in between there, too, which was super fun and random. And then, the rest is sort of history. So then Christina and I working together in her business, things really took off on social. And then she kept asking me to do a social media marketing agency. I was like, I don't know if that's my purpose. And then finally there were just so many signs, like it just kept knocking on my door. And I eventually just had to open it and say like, okay, yes, universe, like I'm going to say yes to this. And a lot of the time it felt like I was sort of being dragged into it by the universe, like against my will at times, right? Like it felt bigger than what I could hold space for. But I ended up just, putting one foot in front of the other, and here I am today. We made it 5 years later.
And such incredible growth that you guys have experienced together. And I love your story because you're such a power partnership. And anyone who has been in partnership in business knows how that can go one of two ways usually. And it can be really challenging. But you guys have such an amazing dynamic. And it reminds me of what Leah, as keynote speaker at the most recent High Vibe, shared about how, you're one connection away. And I see that in your story so much, but I also see how the universe had this bigger plan for you and kept pushing you into that. And I think of your human design as a projector and how important it is. I know you didn't know that at the time, and we'll talk about that, but how important it is for you to be wait for the invitation, right? Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about that actually? Let's dive right into human design, because I know for you hit a spot in entrepreneurship where you really were, hit burnout, were working in a way that wasn't aligned with you. Your partner's with a Manny Jen that we say how Christina, like she's a Manny Jen on a whole other level because I'm a Manny Jen, and she, I just cannot even relate to what this woman is capable of with her energy. Mm-hmm. And so for you in navigating that partnership, can you speak a little bit to that and how you really found your own way in entrepreneurship and your own path and what that looked like for you?
Yeah, such a good question. Oh my gosh, this Manny Jen little nugget. She is, I don't know if anyone knows Christina, my business partner. I'd say at least twice as hard as anyone I've ever met. Like she could work 24/7 and it's like the more she works, the more lit up she gets by it. And the amount she accomplishes in a day is like actually unbelievable, which great person to choose as your business partner. But for me in the beginning, before I, discovered human design and learned more about myself and these tools, I was really trying to keep up with her and operate like her. And it led me truly to like my lowest point in my life where I was just so burnt out. My body was like in absolute shambles. I had to rely on substances to even like get me through the day, to sleep. I had like extreme anxiety. I would wake up every night at 3 a.m. just with like panic attacks. Like it was crazy. And it was all because I was trying to operate at a level that wasn't meant for me and operate in a way and show up in a way that wasn't meant for me. And so I was really, I think, just living super out of alignment and doing things because I thought I should do them, doing things because Christina was doing them. And we had this joke where like she was basically working a full-time job still. She was still in her 9 to 5 and doing our business on the side. And I was full-time in our business. And I was like, how are you doing more than me in our business? Like when I have all the hours in the day to work on it and you have whatever outside of your 9 to 5, right? And what it came down to was I was just not doing things in a way that worked for me. And human design was like the start of the change of my life there. Like it really picked me up off of that rock bottom floor and showed me my talents, my gifts. And it really, I think it gave me permission to be myself And I feel like that was the key catalyst in what came next for me and rebuilding from that rock bottom moment. And the funniest thing about it is I thought I was doing Christina a service by trying to be like her, by trying to work as much as her and show up like her and do sales calls and do all the things that she was doing. And love her to death. She operates a little chaotically. Like you Mani-gens all have like a little chaos, a little fire in you that you love, right? Where it's like very multi-passionate, starting a million different things at once. She actually needed me to be in my projector energy to ground her, to help her prioritize, to help her systematize and create processes around things. And because I was just trying to be like her, not only was I burning myself out, but I was doing her a disservice and the business a disservice.
I love that. And when was that moment where it really clicked for you, first of all, in really identifying like your superpower and your role in the business, especially because you had this story of kind of, which a little probably was rooted in a little bit of a limiting belief that this happened to you by accident, and you know that she started this and then you came into it. Where did you really flip the switch and realize, no, this is what I'm meant to be, this is my superpower, and this is how I'm at my best?
Yeah, we had a human design reading done. And so myself, Christina, and the human design practitioner are like in this meeting, and Christina and I's minds were just being blown as this woman was talking, because I think I just never saw my gifts as gifts because they came so easily to me and so naturally to me. And I thought, I have to do these hard things. I have to operate like these people I'm seeing be successful in business. And what I really needed to do is actually honor what comes naturally to me and honor what comes easily to me and what I'm good at, and learn to value that. And yeah, the human design reading is really, I feel like, where it all started to shift, because it changed my perspective of, I used to see myself as like, I'm kind of lazy. Like I can't work as hard as everybody else. And why can't I do these things that everybody else can do? And then in the reading, I saw, my gifts are actually somewhere else. And because I'm putting all my energy into this thing that I'm not naturally good at and I'm not sort of meant to do, it's just burning me out and depleting all my energy. And a huge thing for us as projectors is we need to be like in our essence. And that's when we get that magnetism and those gifts and that insight and the wisdom coming through. When you're just burning yourself out trying to be a Mani-gen, you don't get those same, downloads and insights that you normally would as when you're being your true projector self. So that was really the catalyst where I started to be like, okay, these are my gifts, and this is how I can use them to complement Christina and to bring value to the business.
Yeah, such a powerful shift. And what were some limiting beliefs that you had to really shed in that process? We're getting into it, Maria. I was going to ask you that.
I know, but I'm like, oh my God, where do I even start? The amount of mindset work I had to do on this business, it's like, you're not even really building the business. You're just building yourself into the person you need to become to run the business that you want to run. Like, I could not believe that more. And the past 5 years have been like the most extreme personal development and self-discovery journey. A lot of my limiting beliefs at the beginning were around like imposter syndrome, and just like I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. Or like, who am I to be doing this? I don't have a degree in marketing. I don't have experience in business. I don't know what I'm doing. And because of that, I let the clients sort of like walk all over us, do whatever they wanted. I had no boundaries. I avoided conflict. It was a bad spot. And it's funny now because when I think back to like the extreme anxiety I had and how much it affected me, really the turning point was when I realized like my anxiety and my body were trying to protect me because I was not protecting myself. And I was not setting boundaries, and I was not living in alignment. And my body felt the need to intervene and do that for me. And I think that's something really important to remember, is that like your body is working for you. Like it is on your side, right? So like even in those moments of intense anxiety, it was just trying to protect me. And I think that's because I wasn't protecting myself, because I was so caught up in people-pleasing and perfectionism.
Oh, so good and so important. And, it's so easy to ignore those signs and symptoms and let our like logical mind take over. But tuning into the messages from the body really guides us where we need to go. I'm curious your perspective, because another part of your story that you've shared openly, you're leading this events business, High Vibe Women, which is like my favorite community. I just feel so at home there and absolutely love what you guys are building, and I'm constantly blown away by what you're doing. And I can really relate to your story because you've talked a lot about your anxiety around kind of getting up on stage and speaking and how you've overcome that but still deal with those fears. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about your process there and, how you've been able to work through that and take the stage with such confidence now and showing up really as your favorite self on stage is what I see. And yeah, if you could kind of share a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. And yes, I am still nervous when I get on stage. This most recent event, everyone was like, wow, it's so great how you're not nervous anymore. And I was like, guys, don't worry. I still am. It's still there. It just gets a little easier every time, right? The biggest moment for me actually was I signed up for a mastermind. Christina and I started investing in masterminds in our business like so early, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I was sitting in a seat at an event kind of similar to High Vibe Women, but it was more like mastermind style. And Lori Harder got on stage, who was like, at this point, like my idol, like so successful. I looked up to her in every way. I was like, if I can just be like a quarter of what she is, right, then I'll consider myself a success. And she got up on stage and she just talked about how she was a high school dropout, how she had extreme anxiety, and she just shared so openly and so vulnerably her story. And she was basically like, guys, like if I can do this, you can do this. And up until that moment, everyone that I had seen in leadership and in, business and people who I looked up to and wanted to emulate, I always thought I was different from them and that I couldn't get where they were or have what they had because I had anxiety or because I had imposter syndrome or because I was dealing with burnout or like whatever all the reasons I had, the stories I was telling myself as to why I was different from them, right? And that was the first time where I was like, oh, if she can do it with the anxiety, and she went into detail, right? And I resonated with so many of the things she said, and I was like she said, if she can do it, then I can do it too. It's possible for me. And that's why now it's so important for me to like have these open conversations, because I hope that I can in some way be that for somebody else, right? Like I'm still nowhere near as successful as Lori Harder, knock on wood, not yet. But I think it's just important for us as leaders and influencers, if you want to call us that, for us to share the messy parts, share the hard parts. Like Christina and I say all the time, we're a hot mess express, guys. Like we are still figuring it out. And we pour a lot of love into what we do, and we treat our clients with respect and care. But like that vulnerability is so important, because that was the turning point for me in realizing that I could do this too. Like I could get on stage with the anxiety and still do it. And that has been my process. So I do it scared every time. I just like put fear into the passenger seat, and me and fear become good buddies, and we get on stage together and we drive that car. And every time it becomes a little easier. I find ways to make myself feel a little more safe. Christina is a big help with that. But yeah, I would say that moment with Lori Harder was huge. And then from then on, it's just understanding that it's okay to do it with the fear, to do it with the anxiety, and knowing that it'll just get a little easier every time.
That resonates with me so much, because it really is the power of showing up and sharing your story in a very truthful and vulnerable, real and raw way, which is what inspired me to launch this podcast ultimately. Mm-hmm. So thank you for just the way that you show up, and that's why I needed to have you on. But when you're saying this, I'm thinking of this full circle moment of how you now have created this stage where, yes, you get up there and share your story, but you don't stop there. You have created the stage to allow other women up there that are sharing their stories in these ways and resonating with so many people. And it's so important, that people have these opportunities to see themselves through other people's experiences and know that they're not alone in those challenges. So just amazing, the growth that you've experienced and where it's led you. I would really love to hear a little bit more recently, just kind of in this season that you're in. I was reflecting on, the season of the snake and the shedding process, and I'm curious what season of growth you're feeling like you're stepping into now, and kind of where you felt a little bit tested, and what have you been letting go of? to get into this next level of growth in your business and your personal evolution?
Ooh, the season of the snake. Oh my God, girl, I was shedding. It's so funny because I've spent, like, if you know me, I've spent the last, basically since I hit that rock bottom moment, from that moment on, I have spent like a majority of my life and my time and my free time on my own personal development. Just like, how can I become better? How can I heal? How can I become the best version of myself? And that's why I love this podcast. Like, it's such an inspiration. And I've put so much work into it. And I felt last year like I was like, you know what? I'm like 90% healed, baby. Like, I am so close.
Famous last words.
I'm almost there. Like, I've gotten through 90% of the BS. I've done all this stuff. I've uncovered all these things. I've let go of all these beliefs, whatever. And then it felt like I got to 100% and I just peeled back a whole new layer and I'm back at 0.
Wow.
And it was so humbling. I was like, okay, like, here we go again. And it's just a deeper layer now, right? Like, so that was a lot of the like surface level kind of like junk and programming that I had to like sort through and get off of myself. And it's funny because when I was filling out the guest form to be on this podcast, Carly asked me for a bio, like, how would you introduce yourself in your own words? And I just wrote in the box, I cannot answer this question because I'm going through a huge identity shift right now. I'm so sorry. I don't know who I am. And at first that was really hard because I did all of this work to like take away all of these beliefs that were ingrained in me as a child and growing up and in my subconscious. And it was really cool to be like, okay, that's like something deep down I didn't even know was there. And now I'm releasing that belief and I'm letting go. And what I was left with was just so much space where I was like, oh, now I get to decide who I want to be and what I believe and who I am. And now it's up to me. And at first I was fully spiraled about that. Like, I was like, oh my God, like, who am I? I actually called my 2 best longest girlfriends who have known me like my entire life. And I was like, emergency meeting, like, get together. Who am I? Like, can you tell me? Can one of you tell me? I'm hoping one of you can tell me who I am. And I actually thought they were going to like tell me who I was and it was going to be fine. And instead of telling me who I was, they were like, this gets to be fun. This gets to be an experiment. You've done the hard work of like, I've shed, the religious programming, the people pleasing, the perfectionism, the anxiety, like the burnout. Like, I have done the work to let go of so many things I was dealing with. And now I'm in this space where I get to create something new. And instead of putting so much pressure on myself to decide, like, what is it? Who do I think I am? And what do I believe? And who am I? And how am I going to act? They're like, just experiment, just try stuff, just, see how it feels. Like, take action on something, see how you feel after. Did that resonate? Is that in alignment with who you really are? Is that what you believe? And so that's the season I'm in now, is I've let go of a ton of stuff and I'm just like, there's so much space for something new and I'm just letting it be fun and I'm experimenting with it.
So good and so important. We just can take things so seriously in entrepreneurship, in doing the inner work. And I think that's so important. And that's when I really love to tap into the inner child side and the playful side and the joyful side. And like, my kids can help me pull me into that as well and just surround yourself in that energy. I'm curious kind of what you think led to that moment where you just felt this kind of blank slate almost around your identity and like, who is this next version of you? Do you feel like it was because your identity was wrapped up in something specific? Like for me in the early days of my business, I think back to that version of me and I'm like, my whole identity was my work. Like my worthiness, everything was through the business. And there's no way that I could have gotten to where I am now while still having my identity so closely wrapped up in the business and this whole kind of like the business is your baby kind of mentality. So I'm curious if there was something like that for you that shifted that just made you kind of like question, who am I now?
Mm-hmm. I love the insight on you. I'd love to hear more about that. But I think for me, it was what led me to my rock bottom moment was I let everybody else dictate my life. So no one's to blame for that other than me, right? Like, I don't want to say, like, my parents were, like, amazing. They weren't like, you have to be a doctor and you have to do this and you have to do that. But I took such a passive role in my life because I think the way I was raised and my nature is just to, like, make other people happy. I really value, like, peace externally and internally. So I like, avoid conflict. I want everything to just be, like, good and everybody to be happy.
Because you have Libra in your...
Yes. Lots of
Give me Libra.
Venus and Libra. Yeah. Well, I'm a lover girl. It's like that meme that's like, what is it? Born to be a baby girl, forced to be a big dog.
Oh my God, yes.
Like, that is me. I'm just like, I just want everybody to get along and, like, hold hands and everybody to be happy. And so because of that, I just spent so much of my life doing what other people wanted me to do. Like, I would follow all the rules. I would, be a good girl. I would do as I'm told. And I carried that into my adult life, right? And so we have the strategy of waiting for the invitation. I think I took that way too far to the toxic side of, like, just being such a passenger in my life that it was like being driven by everybody else. So I was, like, in a business that I didn't like at the time I was running it. In a relationship that was not for me, in a house that was not for me. Like, every single thing in my life was, like, somehow being dictated by everybody else and was not in alignment with who I truly am and what I really wanted. And so just, like, brick by brick, I feel like I started unpacking that. And it wasn't really one thing where I was like, work is my identity or this relationship is my identity. But I think I just got to such a low point where I realized, like, I just let everybody else run my life. And so the first thing was actually the relationship. Like, I left the relationship, moved back in with my parents, and felt this, like, insane sense of freedom where I was like, wow, I can take my power back and I actually have a choice. And then, slowly, like I said, kind of like one step at a time, I've just been undoing all of that, like, whatever it was, 25 years of letting other people decide what my life was going to be.
How do you now differentiate between fear and alignment?
Oh.
So, I'm thinking as you go through these big shifts, especially when you've been familiar with taking kind of that passive role and maybe doing things the way you thought you should or the way other people were dictating, how do you know now in your own process when it feels in alignment for you and it's the path for you? And how do you also know when it's a fear that could be holding you back from something that is in alignment rather than being out of alignment?
That's such a good one. So, when I'm making a decision, how do I know if it's truly what's in alignment with my soul or if it's just a fear-based, like, kind of people-pleasing response?
Or, how do you overcome that fear? Because I think when we're navigating kind of a new identity, we tend to have a lot of fears that come with that, but that doesn't mean that it's out of alignment, right? So I just love hearing from other people. How do you differentiate between being out of alignment and just the fear that comes with the next level of growth? And, is there a certain process for you, maybe as a projector, or, like, we can get into your astrology, where, like, you really know, like, that you're in alignment and this is the right path for you? How does that show up in your body or just in your experience?
It's interesting because I don't know. I think it's intuition, but for a long time I couldn't tell the difference. And so I think where, like, the difference lied for me from then to now is, like, spending time with myself and learning about myself. And that's why I love these tools. I love, human design, astrology, gene keys, journaling, like, just getting to know myself better. And when I was at that rock bottom and not being able to differentiate, it was like I just numbed every second of my life, like, whether that was through scrolling or weed or, like, whatever my substance choice was at the time. Every moment of my day was, like, consumed with sort of running away from my thoughts and my problems and my fears. And the pivotal moment of change was when I stopped running away from those problems and started running towards those problems. And so parts theory was really big for me. So making space for that anxiety, making space for that fear, having a conversation with it, right? Like instead of demonizing it or numbing it or trying to repress it and like shove it away, it's like, let's invite it to the table. Let's have a conversation, baby.
Yes.
Let's, have some snacks, have some charcuterie with my anxiety, like inviting it in, because I think in some way it is, like I said, working for you. Maybe not in the most ideal way. Maybe the way it's working for you is trying to keep you safe by keeping you small. But then that's part of the conversation. Okay, you're trying to keep me safe by keeping me small. What's another way I could keep you safe while we grow together? What's a way I can invite you in, like I said, with the speaking, like put you in the car with me and have you be okay on this journey with me, and we can go together. And so I think when I tap into my intuition and what I know is best for me, that is where I find that clarity. But you can only do that if you make space for the shadow. And that has been I think is one of my greatest learning lessons in this life is I'm, high vibe women. I love to be high vibe. I love positivity. I love when things are working out and everything's grand. But I have a tendency to like run away from the shadow or repress it or not want to deal with it. And it's been in embracing that has really been the change for me.
Yeah. I think it's so important in our growth to be able to sit in that discomfort of those uncomfortable feelings and feel them in our body and realize also, I remember seeing a stat that an emotion actually only lasts like 90 seconds or something,
if
right?
you actually feel it.
Yes. So just letting us, rather than, constantly spiraling because we haven't let ourselves feel what we need to feel. So good. So can you tell me, we've had some fun conversations around favorite self, and one of my favorite stories actually is around fashion and style. And, I think it goes to show how our the way we show up externally reflects our internal reality too. And I love how at my book launch, one of the things I said for dress code was to just dress and come as your favorite self. And you just showed up. And like, honestly, you were just like glowing in this energy that felt like this like sassy, saucy Maria too side that I loved seeing. And I just would love to hear from your perspective, kind of how the way that you dress and show up. I think that's a big reality for especially a lot of women in business, when we're going to these events, and that seems to always be the hardest part. Like, what am I going to wear? And so I'm curious just how you identify through your wardrobe and what kind of dressing like your favorite self is like. Can you tell us?
Yes, it's so interesting. Like, you wrote one line in an email that was basically like dress code is dress as your favorite self. And I cannot tell you how much that has impacted my life. And it's funny because I've been reflecting on this a lot because I actually can't believe how much it's changed my life. And I was thinking back to the first time we met, and I was actually like drawn to you because of your outfit. And I think it was like the first thing I said to you. I was like, okay, I'm obsessed with this. Like, you were wearing this like powder blue, like matching pantsuit that was just like so cool and so like, you were not blending in. Like, you were like, girl, I'm here. And I was like, yes, this is my kind of girl. And we instantly bonded over that. And so I got this email from you that was like, hi, please dress as your favorite self. And instantly spiraling. I'm like, what does that mean? What do I wear? Who is my favorite self? Like, again, I'm in this, as you guys have heard, identity crisis. So I'm like, what in the world does that mean? And I was thinking about it all week. And then I, shifted my mindset a little. I'm like, okay, this gets to be fun. Like, let's make it fun. And I went all out, guys. Like, I showed up to this book launch in like a sparkly diamond-encrusted tube top, okay? With like...
She understood the assignment.
90s baby hair. Even today I wore a tube top because I'm like, I'm going to be on the Favorite Self podcast. I have to dress as my favorite self. My favorite self involves tube tops and bell-bottom jeans. I'm a 90s baby,
yeah,
okay?
I love it.
I wore a choker to the book launch. Like, I just like went all out. And I had so much fun getting dressed. And it just felt like such a permission slip because I was like, nobody can judge me. She asked us to dress as our favorite selves. No, I'm not going to go in there and somebody's going to be like, ew, why are you wearing a choker? Like, what the heck? Like, what's that about? Right? So I just felt so free to express myself. And I could not believe how I felt when I put that outfit on. Like, I just felt so confident, so myself, so inspired. Like, I literally just felt like I could take on the world. And I did not know that clothing could have that much power over me and like influence how I showed up so strongly. And then it made me reflect on my childhood and my life. And I realized that I used to love expressing myself through clothing and dressing like that and wearing all these funky, crazy outfits and like being super fun and stylish. And then I got bullied for that. And then I started dressing to fit in. And that was not a conscious choice. Like, I obviously knew people were like making fun of whatever I was wearing because, you know, we were in like grade 3 and they were like, what are these crazy fashion choices? But somewhere along the way, those comments made me react in a way that was like, okay, from now on, I'm just going to dress to not get made fun of instead of I'm going to dress how I want. And the other day I was looking at some childhood photos and I was like, oh my God, these outfits were actually crazy. And I looked at a picture where I'm wearing like a flower print shirt, striped pants, like a bright orange visor, like nothing matches. It's like an absolutely like disastrous outfit. And I look so happy and I'm so like sporty and I'm actually like rocking it. Like it actually looks really good. And I think it's just a testament to what happens when we decide to stand in our power and stand in our true, unique expression without being worried about how that's going to be perceived by others. And when you show up like that and you are okay with people not being okay with it and you understand that when they're not okay with it, it's just them projecting that they wish they could dress like that and be their authentic favorite selves, it's magical what can happen. So thank you so much for that invitation. That has just like opened up something huge for me. It's really expanded my confidence, my self-expression. It's like given so many gifts to me. So I can't thank you enough for that concept. And I invite everybody listening to start dressing like your favorite self too.
Thank you for just the way that you show up and literally take one line in an email and, you know, turn it into something so empowering and powerful, and just it is so reflective in your energy and the way that you're showing up in that space. And it made me reflect too on how when I said that, I had a moment in my parenting journey because my kids came to my book launch and I was, you know, we were doing some family pictures. I'm trying to get our outfits organized. And my son had zero interest in wearing these like really cute jeans that we had picked out. He wanted to wear these joggers. And I'm like, you know, having to remind myself, I am telling other people to dress as your favorite self and like what makes you feel like your most authentic self. And I have to, of course, also let my kid do this. Luckily, we did come to a deal where he was going to start with the jeans and then change into the track pants. But my daughter too, you know, I think it's so important I had to go through that where like she started dressing herself and just letting her show up in that way. And we need to do that for ourselves. And when you reflect that back to me about when we first met, and I remember you complimenting me on my outfit, and I never felt like the person who would get complimented on her outfit. I always felt like I just like didn't really know what my style was. And I just felt like I kind of dressed to blend in. So that was a whole thing for me where I remember getting some feedback at some events. And I remember the first High Vibe event and someone actually saying to me, like, I always love to see what you're wearing. And I'm like, me?
Aww.
Like, it really, I love how we can be such powerful mirrors for each other in that way. So anyway, thank you for sharing that. And to expand on that then, how would you describe who your favorite self is in this season that you're currently in?
Ooh, Carly, I don't know.
Should have let you journal on it before.
I think I'm definitely still figuring it out. But I think my favorite self, and this is why the clothing thing has been so impactful, because it's not just about the clothes, right? Like my favorite self shows up how I want to show up, regardless of how that's going to be received by other people. So my favorite self is, you know, fun and playful and experiments and is sometimes a hot mess express and, you know, owns that and runs with it and shows up in a way that just feels true to myself instead of a way where I'm trying to, you know, fit my behavior into what's going to be okay for other people or what's going to be palatable for other people or what's going to not get a reaction from other people. And the more work I do on myself, the more I realize like these things that we try so hard to avoid from other people, that criticism or the judgment or the negative comments, like that truly is just a reflection of the other person. It's not actually a reflection of you. And when you show up in your power and you trigger people in that way, I actually think they're sort of meant to be triggered in that way. And I think it's meant to bring that awareness up within themselves. And I love that I'm at a place now where I can hold that for myself and for them, and I can understand that it's not actually about me, and I can continue to just show up as the person I am and the person I'm becoming, and also remember that like there aren't any rules. So, you know, in fashion, you can wear whatever the hell you want. you know? And in business, you get to show up however the hell you want, and you get to choose what's right for you, right? So there are a million people telling you a million different ways to do everything. And I think especially with the growth of social, we're just seeing this more and more. A lot of them are just trying to sell you stuff. But the more you can lean into like who you actually are and remember that it gets to be fun, it gets to be an experiment, and you get to break all the rules that people are putting out there for you, that's what I'm really leaning into. So I think I'm still figuring out who my favorite self is, but my favorite self is just my true self.
Yes. Oh, you articulated that so beautifully. And I'm glad you brought up social media, because we both, work in social media, supporting clients, but then also are building our own brands and personal brands on social. And I think one thing that comes up a lot from others is around feeling stuck with like, how do I actually show up authentically on social? So I'm curious, could you share a little bit of your experience there in the way that you show up? And I'm sure there's been different seasons for you with that too, where sometimes like you just haven't felt like showing up at all, and how do you navigate that? But then also how do you show up as your beautiful, authentic self online? Because I think you do it so wonderfully.
Oh, that's so sweet. This is something I've actually struggled with a lot, and I feel like I'm a little bit on the other side now. But I found I love to just share authentically on social for the reasons we talked about earlier, like the Lori Harder stuff. But also because social's such a highlight reel, and it's like everything's perfect all the time. And I'm like, actually, it's not, guys. And here's what's really going on behind the scenes. I think the thing that has allowed me to share that stuff vulnerably is this saying Christina and I say all the time. It's share from the scar, not the wound. And so when you're in the thick of it and you want to just get on social and complain, I'm like, is that serving anybody? Is that, even serving me? Like, what is that doing? But once you're a little bit beyond it, once you see the lesson or you see the test or you see the growth that came from that, that's where I feel like the power is in sharing that story. And so that's really what I've done. And so when I was in the depths of my burnout journey, like you did not hear from me on social. Well, maybe you heard from me a little bit, but it was not the like vulnerable, what's actually going on behind the scenes. Once I started to heal from that is where I started to share, okay, here's where I was and here's the lesson. Here's how I started to get my way out of it. And I think peeling back the curtain is so important for so many reasons, but most importantly so that people feel like they can also be their authentic selves and give them permission to make mistakes and be messy and know that we all have hard days. Like we are all struggling, especially in entrepreneurship. Damn.
Yeah.
Those hits just come one after another. And like, we have to be honest about that. Right. So for me, it's just waiting a little bit past being in the thick of it. And so you can have more clarity on what actually happened. What's the lesson? What's the takeaway? And then sharing from that spot is what helps me show up vulnerably.
Love it. Something that we've talked about too, that your perspective has always resonated with me, is around, the leadership side of the business and leading a team. And I think we have a similar experience in that we didn't necessarily set out on this path thinking I'm going to lead a team and I'm going to run this bigger business. And like for me, it was just going to be me, and until Luke came in and then had this other vision. And I didn't have that experience. I didn't come from corporate leading a big team or anything like that. I really had to navigate it myself. So I'm curious kind of how you would describe the identity shift in that, and how you've been able to show up as this leader of this 7-figure business with a full team and, expansive client roster, and how do you show up as your favorite self in your leadership?
Great question. This has been a big one for me. I think I was texting you, Carly, when I recently had to fire someone, and I went in an absolute spiral because I did it very quickly and sort of easily. And I was like, who have I become? And then one of my mentors was like, interesting that you associate firing someone with like doing something bad to them. Like, what if, like, she was like, my most aligned, highest divine path, I only got set on because I got fired from a job. And now I've been in entrepreneurship 15 years, and I've impacted thousands of lives, and I've helped thousands of clients heal. And that never would have happened if I never got fired. And I was like, oh, okay. And so my idea of leadership has really changed over the years. Like at the beginning, I thought, being myself as a leader means like being friends with all my employees and everybody on my team and being so nice to them and going above and beyond and doing whatever they want and, falling into that people-pleasing era. And now I'm realizing that being my favorite self as a leader also means prioritizing what's best for the business and sometimes making decisions that, are uncomfortable to communicate in the moment. Is it easy firing someone? Like, no, it isn't. It just feels gross inside. But remembering that actually could be you setting them on their highest path. And I think leadership for me is like never about being perfect or pretending I have all the answers. It's just showing up for my team and for my business in a way that makes both of those things feel really supportive and cared for and, I don't know, in highest alignment for everybody, like for the greater good. It's been really cool to see, too, the shift in the team as I shift as a leader and doing overgiving and doing what I thought was best for them versus having clear boundaries, clear expectations with them, showing them how I need them to show up. And it really calls them to a higher level, too, and it ends up being in their best interest, too.
Oh, so good. And just want to shout out my old boss from Starbucks who fired me.
Shout out!
But it's so true. And I was just talking about this with Christina because we were recording an episode as well that's going to come out a little bit later. And, just about how that's part of the mindset shift and the reminder when something happens where you lose a client or, something ends with a team member or something gets let go of or you have to release something and it's clearing space for something better and something more aligned for both parties. And it's hard sometimes most times to have that perspective in the moment, but it's so true and so important. And those are the pivotal moments that we look back on that shifted everything. Mm-hmm. So speaking of, I'm curious if you could share what kind of would feel like one of those pivotal moments for you that just really stretched you into a whole new level of capacity. Because I like to think of those moments as like the character development in our story. Like I wouldn't be who I am and where I am today without these pivotal moments that stretch me beyond what I even thought I was capable of stretching in that way. I did not think I had the flexibility in me. And so, what comes up for you? Is there something that stands out, a pivotal moment where you just really felt like you were stretched into a new version of yourself?
Yes. So we had this team member. We keep our full-time employee team pretty small. We work with like a lot of contractors on our team. And we had a team member who we basically treated sort of like a third owner of the business. Like we were just like in the thick of it with this team member. And I remember thinking, like, if this person ever leaves, like, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, I don't think this is something we could ever come back from. I have no idea how we would, like, go from there. She managed so many different things. It was our fault, but, like, we didn't have eyes into what she managed. Anyway, long story short, she gave us 2 weeks' notice and quit one day. It was like, I think it was right before a big event or something big we had going on. And I was like,
always is.
Yeah. And I was like, this is it. This is the end. And you know what? Christina and I just looked at each other and we're like, we have no choice right now other than to like rise to the occasion. Like we have been dealt this hand. It sucks right now. I'm sure in some way it's for like the highest good. What are we going to do? And we just became the people we needed to be to deal with that challenge. And it was actually so much easier to deal with than I ever imagined. And it ended up being a blessing for us in our business. And it really changed my perspective on my fears and the way I viewed things because it was something for so long that I feared. Like I was like, what would I ever do if this happened? And then it happened. And then we got through it.
Yeah.
And so it called me to step up as a leader, but more importantly, it showed me that our fears, I think, have too much power over us sometimes. Like we underestimate how resilient we are and resourceful we are and how much our community can help us and how many resources we actually do have access to, right? Like whether that be coaching or actual support, team members that like jumped in to help, our own capacity that we can dive into. And so, it was a pivotal moment because it was something I feared for so long. And then it was actually so easy to overcome.
Thank you for sharing that because I think one of the most challenging parts of growing and scaling a business has been around team, because I'm someone that is so invested in those relationships. And I think there's something about that too, that you get the receipts of those moments where you're like, okay, but if I could get through this, and you can, and like, it's so important for us to reflect and be like, remember that time when this happened and we thought it was the end, the rug was pulled out, everything was over, burn it all to the ground. Yeah. And look how we overcame that, and look what that led to. And, you know, looking back and connecting the dots that way. I know we both really love the To Be Magnetic brand and the manifestation process. And one of my favorite parts of that is their formula around paying attention to the tests and the triggers and the blocks. And like, I love connecting the dots afterwards and looking back and seeing like, oh my God, I was so tested in that moment. And then this came through on the other side. So do you feel like there was something on the other side there that felt like that? Or can you even just think of another point of growth where you had to go through that experience and then it led to another manifestation on the other side, whether it was one you were consciously calling in or not, but it opened another doorway that you hadn't even thought?
I sort of feel like every challenge I go through is kind of like that. I remember, I mean, this isn't business related, but I think personal really does affect business a lot of the time. When I was in my relationship and I couldn't imagine what that would look like to leave, because it was like our lives were so entangled, like my housing situation, my friends, my family, like I had so much invested in that relationship. And thinking about like what would happen if I leave was like the scariest thing. It was like I'd have nothing. I'd be starting from zero. Like what would ever happen? And then once you get on the other side, you're like, oh, this is happening for me. Like this is so incredible. And I love now when like things come up that are fears or problems or things that just feel like such a gut punch where you're like, how will I ever get over this? My favorite response now is, what a pleasure. What a pleasure. And this is from David Guillaume. I love him. Because it's the universe giving you an opportunity to either clear space for something better, to learn, to level up, whatever it is happening for you. And when you view it like that, the earlier you can view it like that, the better. Because we always learn in the end, right? You always look back. I look back at every single hardship and problem I've ever had in my life and business, and I can see why it happened and how I was so much better off on the other side. But when you're in the moment, it's like, damn, I'm on the ground. I just got gut punched. Like, help, send help. And you can get caught in that self-pity for so long, right? So that's been really powerful for me, is stepping into that. What a pleasure.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to use that. So good. Okay, final question and then I have a little bit of rapid fire. But I'd love to hear if there's someone listening right now who's feeling like they're in that kind of lost place where they're just feeling out of alignment, and whether that's through burnout or just realizing that they're not on the path that they're meant to be on, what advice would you have for that person to help them find the right path again?
I think a couple things. One, you already have everything you need within you. Two, everything happens for you, not to you. Mm-hmm. So even those moments where you're lost and you don't know what to do, like that is happening for you. And just remember that while you're in it, because it sucks while you're in it. It's tough. And I think the biggest thing is run towards your problems, not away from them. Run towards that feeling of being lost. Run towards that feeling of being out of alignment. Like sit with it, make space for it, invite it to the table, have a conversation with it. Don't fear it. Don't repress it. Don't try and run away from it. Just allow it, and you'll be surprised what will open up.
So wise.
Thanks.
Okay.
So
beautiful. So this rapid fire, I would love to start with, what is a belief that you've outgrown?
Oh, I'm trying to think of how to say this concisely. It's something around... Oh God, I'm a projector. Rapid fire is not my strength.
It's okay. It's just, gradual fire. Like, what's the word?
Slow fire.
It can be whatever we want it to be.
I need other people to be happy for me to be safe. I need to make other people happy for me to feel safe.
Oh, that's such a good one. What's a non-negotiable in your life or business right now?
A non-negotiable. Time with myself alone. With my journal and my thoughts and my fears and my problems.
Yes.
Inviting them to the table.
Yes. Something that you're currently calling in.
Ooh, financial abundance.
Here for that.
Yes.
Please. My word of the year is overflow. So
Yes,
bring it
I
on.
love that. That's such a good one.
And what's something that you're letting go of in this next season or in this current season?
So many things. So many things. I think I'm letting go of the rules. I've put a lot of fake rules on myself or society or whoever religion has. And yeah, I'm letting go of them.
Yes.
I make the rules, baby.
Hell yes, you do. So good. Oh my God. Thank you, Maria. This was such a dream, honestly. Like, I feel like we could just chat forever, and that's why I'm constantly texting you at all hours of the night. But I'm sitting down meaning to work, and then I suddenly get into such a great conversation with you, and I'm like, well, there goes an hour. Tell us where we can find you, and also where we can get more information on High Vibe Women and the beautiful online community you have and the upcoming event you have this fall, and any brunches too. I've been talking to some friends about brunches, so let us know.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. If you want to connect with me, if you want to chat about anything you heard in this episode, I love jamming out on this topic. These are my favorite things to talk about. So come find me on Instagram @_Maria Tassi. It's the best place to chat. For High Vibe Women, you can find all of our stuff at highvibewomen.ca. We'll leave a link in the show notes for the online community. You can come join Carly and I in there. It's so much fun in there. But if you want details on the events and brunches and everything in between, our website is probably the best place to go, or you can check out our Instagram too @highvibe.women.
Amazing. Come on out. Come hang. It's the best place to be. It's the best vibes, and I always leave with a new takeaway and a new version of myself that I'm stepping into. So thank you again for creating those spaces and stages for women. It's so important and so needed.
I was just going to say the same to you. I'm so inspired by you. I could go on and on about like the ways you expand me, and I'm obsessed with our chats, and you're just such an expander for me. So thank you for hosting this wonderful podcast, for impacting all the lives you're going to impact with it, and for being you.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for listening. If you like this episode, please share, download, do all those things. I hear that they're important. I'm learning the ropes still, but so appreciate you being here, and be sure to connect with Maria as well. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Favorite Self podcast. If this episode stirred something in you, there's a reason for it. You could take a moment to share with a friend, someone who's also building something brave. That would mean so much to me. Better yet, leave a review. It helps this message reach even more women who are ready to lead differently. And before you go, remember this: your favorite self is already within you, waiting to be heard. See you next time.